Hello, everybody. Charlie Velasquez here. Welcome to episode 51. I'm not sure if I'm counting correctly, but I think it is. Today, this is like a little bit of a special edition. We are going to do this in honor of the Miami Tridents, who are going to play the national finals this weekend in St. Charles, Missouri. And we haven't had a D2 team in more than 10 years going to a final. So it's a big event. And of course, we don't forget about the D3 Panthers last year, doing it, running all the way to the final and becoming national champions. Very good season for them. Now it's D2 turn, which, is really awesome because it puts Florida on the map. Year in, year out, we're getting to the finals in one or other division. And I have to say also, the Panthers, they didn't make it just by so little. It could have been then. Well, speaking of making it with so little, the Tridents, they have got into this sort of habit of making everybody suffer till the last minute or over the last minute, because they won the state championship by 1 point, 32-31 against the Pelicans in that great game. And then they went on to play the Super Regional, winning by 3 points against San Antonio, 24-21. And then, of course, in the final game against New Orleans, they tied 25-25 at the 80 minutes with a conversion or penalty. I can't remember, hitting the post. So it kept us, on our toes until they scored a try. And now we have them as in the top four of the nation. And we're going to have today the coach, the captain, assistant coach, and a special guest, a couple of special guests that we thought it was really appropriate to bring on. And I'm going to bring him on right now, Dai Morgan. Hi, Dai. How are you doing? And first of all, thank you very much. It's like midnight over there in France where you are, right?
Yeah, 11:34.
Oh, that's not that bad.
Not that bad.
Okay. And also Eric Saunders. Did I pronounce that correctly?
Yes, sir. Hi, Charlie.
Finals, right?
I'm sorry, you muted there for a second. Can you say it again?
Yeah, you were a player in both games, in your both games when you reached the finals.
Yes, sir. I was president of the club and in the first 15 for both 2010 and 2011.
And president of the club. So thank you very much. And I'm going to bring in the Tridents guy, Oliver Hire, coach. How you doing, Oliver? Can you hear us, Oliver? Okay. Well, he'll wake up in. Fede Torres Garcia, captain of the Miami Tridents. How are you doing, Fede?
How are you? Nice to see you again.
Thank you for being here. And on and off will be, of course, head coach of the Tridents, Dimitri Eftimio. How are you doing, Dimitri? He's always in this weird settings, but we can't hear you. So you're going to have to, reset or something. Anyway, yeah, that's better. At least we don't hear the buzz. I would like to start with Dimitri. I don't know if you can hear us, Dimitri. No, I can't get out. I think he lives in his car. Does he live in his car? You can't hear me either? You can't hear me?
We can hear you.
Okay, everything seems to be sort of frozen.
We can hear you, Charlie.
Okay. So I think it's Dimitri. How are things going right now? How are the boys? How are the trainings and preparations?
Was that to me or to Dimitri?
Yeah, Fede.
Oh, sorry. You cut off just for a second. No, it's good. Honestly, it's been a very good last 3 weeks, 2 weeks since that regional championship. I think it gave the guys the opportunity to compete at that higher level. I think really opened the mind of a lot of the guys on the team, knowing that one, we can compete at that level, and two, that we can excel at that level. It caught us by surprise that we've been able to beat such a strong both San Antonio team and New Orleans team that came with with guys from the Noel Academy that played MLR, and I think the overall feeling within the club has been very positive, with almost of what can't we achieve at this point. We've gotten this far. We won that state championship against very, very strong odds, and we've been able to hold down our nerves in these tighter games. So I think the energy, the attitude, the almost, I don't know, hopefulness of the team has been nothing but stellar over these last few weeks.
We lost the coach right now. Dai,
Yes, sir.
what are your first thoughts for the Tridents when they get to these games?
Well, the first thing for everyone involved in the Tridents, congratulations. I think it's
you, Doug.
fantastic to have another team from Florida in there. I think we should be competing at Division is it 4 and 3 and 2 every year. Something that Fede said, which really rings home true to me, is when he talked about how the club is in a good place right now. The boys are in a good place. And when the boys are in a good place and they're happy and it's a good culture, it's a good environment, then anything is possible. And Eric had a term for me, obnoxious something or other, but he can talk about it maybe. But Eric, can you talk to Fede about the culture and environment we managed to culture in the 2 years we went there back to back?
Yeah. So the term I used for Dai earlier, Fede, was nauseating optimism.
Oh, good.
Right. So before preseason even started, he had us all book out our calendars all the way through to the national championship, and so and it just continued from there. Crew, back when we went to the national championship in 10 and 11, we're kind of on a very similar journey to the Tridents right now, in that we went to the Sweet 16 in 2009 and suffered an embarrassing loss to Wisconsin, and then kind of came back with our tail between our legs and turn around in 2010 and regroup and really start to gel, knowing what that loss feels like to get to the Sweet 16 and lose. And then it all comes together in the following season, and we win all the way through. And so it's almost a mirror to what the Tridents are kind of doing right now, which is awesome and exciting to watch.
Ollie, can you hear us?
Sorry, guys. I'm
Yeah, I can hear
off
you.
and
Yeah,
on.
sorry, I
I'm back
dropped
on
out
now.
for a second there.
So I guess Dimitri is going to be on and off because he's driving, so we can't count on him too much. What are the? You guys have been training hard, I guess, these weeks. I know you have training today. So what are your? How are you preparing differently for these games than you have been preparing until now?
Yeah, Charlie, sorry, you cut out for a bit there, but yeah, no, I guess you're asking about our preparation coming into this.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been interesting, because one of the big challenges with a schedule like this is you're used to a very congested period between sort of in Q1 throughout the season. So you're looking at sort of, January, February, and March being quite congested full of games. And then once you get to the postseason, the games become fewer and far in between. So we're faced with this period where we've had, some really intense battles, like Fede said. But now we're off the back of not being able to play for a few weeks. So a lot of that is just maintaining the guys' motivation, maintaining that level of intensity during a period that we've seen sort of coming off quite a big high from the super regionals to just 3 weeks of just training. So that's been the challenge. But what's really impressed us is the hunger and the appetite of the guys. Fede just alluded to it, that there's some real good hunger in the team at the moment. The guys are in a good place. So it has been nice to see them turning up to practice, turning up to training, and maintaining that level of intensity. But yeah, it's definitely a challenge sort of going into that period where you don't have the fixtures to keep you ready and ticking over as an engine.
I don't know what it is, but you guys seem to have this game plan to keep everything so tight until the last 2 minutes and then win it. Why do you think you are winning these games? Because there is, I guess there's always a little bit of luck involved, of course, because there is a little bit of luck. But for some reason, this is what happens to me when I've seen your games and having followed you throughout the season. All these games that you guys played, for some reason, I was sure you were gonna end up winning them, even when it didn't look like not that good.
Yeah, I think that's a nice compliment to make, Charlie. My personal view on this one is really we've tried to instill in the team a culture where you never say die. I mean, we say before we go out to play that treat this like this could be your last game of rugby ever. Which is a really nice kind of mantra to really think about in terms of life and in rugby as a whole. We don't know when we're. So a lot of this is really about tracking that mentality and that mantra right through to the last minute.
Dai, what in your experience what happens half an hour before one of these games? What are you talking about to the guys?
I think you and I have talked about it separately at different times, Charlie. I always used to have my 30 minutes to kickoff plan and try to stick to it as much as possible. Individual warm-ups, preps, things like that, activation. Everybody did the same thing all over and over again, so they didn't even have to think about it. When I would turn up to a game and I'd see the coach having to explain a warm-up drill 15 minutes before a kickoff, then I'm going, all right, we're going to stuff these guys because they haven't got a clue. Right? I will say, just to back up Ollie's statement there, I hated playing against the Tridents, okay, because we always knew we were going to be in for a battle physically. That's just the way it was. We had it back in the day. We had, we were the two best teams in Florida, and it was cracking games. When the last time I was home coaching and we got to the final against Tridents, I don't know if Fede was in or Ollie was involved at that time. This was 5 years ago, I think.
Ollie maybe was playing.
Yeah, I was around then. Yeah.
Were you playing, Fede?
No. I started 2021 with Tridents.
Okay, so we were winning, not handily, but quite comfortably, in control with no time left. Referee said last play about 5 times, but we continued, and we just took our foot off the gas. We had a lot of young boys that hadn't been in that position before, okay? And I said to Eric, Eric and I were coaching the team, and I said, they're going to come back here. They're going to come back. And you guys marched from your own line. You held us out for a good 5 or 6 minutes. Could have kicked the goals, didn't. Could have, would have, should have, right? Dog ate my homework. Anyways, you fought your way back all the way down the field and ended up, I think Charlie's got a picture somewhere of one of your big number 8, I think it was, who forced his way over. And then the referee blew the whistle. That was the end of the game. And I said that, man, they are a hard team to beat. And I think, Fede, you were the captain, right? My word of advice to you is you've got to repeat what Ollie says. Guys, this is it. We might not be playing again. Ever. Forget about this season. Ever. You might move play.
Yeah, and I was gonna back that up because we've been saying that since the game before the state semifinal. We're at a point with Tridents where some guys are saying it's their last year. Some guys are saying they don't want to play anymore. I doubt that's the posture now with how the season has gone. But that's been a kind of theme that we're in sort of a transition, right, with some of the key players on the team. And so we've been saying that, knowing that situation, knowing the situation of other players that have gotten injured and haven't been able to play anymore. And and it's not putting pressure on yourself per se to say that. It is almost asking the guys to enjoy themselves as much as they can. And what we have found is that attitude is when I always ask guys to smile when they're playing, because that's when we're at our best, our absolute best, when guys are relaxed, when guys are enjoying themselves, and guys are trying to enjoy themselves as much as possible.
Eric, you played for me. What do you think? You've
So,
been
Charlie, I was just sitting here thinking about, you were talking about what do you say to the boys before you take the field in big games. And I recall in 2010 in the locker room at Infinity Park in Glendale before the national championship, Dai had all these notes. He was prepared to say, I think, all these insightful things. And he kind of looked around the room, I think, and noticed that there was a lot of nerves in the room. And so he puts all of his notes down. And instead he goes to this story about having been in the national championship before with Back Bay. And in the last minutes of the game, they were headed toward the try line as a 2-on-1. So all the inside man had to do was step his guy and put the wing away. They score a try, they win the national championship. And instead, this guy put his head down and tried to be a hero and knocked on, and Back Bay ends up losing. And so he basically says, "Look, boys, all I'm going to tell you is don't be that guy today."
Well, I guess it worked.
Nice.
I saw this guy at a wedding a few years later, Dai says, and I refused to speak to him, and I've never spoke to him again. And so now the boys are laughing, and the mood is light, right? And it like totally changed the demeanor of the room. So in retrospect, it was kind of a brilliant coaching move, I thought. But yeah, that was his pregame speech. Don't be that guy.
This is you scoring in that game you guys won against Doylestown, right?
Yeah, I mean it's really our big 8-man there. But you know what they say: the first mouse gets, or what is it? How do they say it? The second mouse gets the cheese. Is that how you say it?
I'm too young. I don't know. I don't know.
The early bird gets the worm, but the second mouse gets the cheese. So our big 8-man brings it right to the 1, and I just kind of poached it and dropped it in. But those are the breaks.
Let's talk a little bit about the support that you guys have, generally speaking, from the community and specifically from the unions as we bring in Mr. this year. Generally speaking, from the community and specifically from the unions. Were you able to listen? I think I'm having a little problem.
No, we heard that, Charlie. I think
And
hey, Charlie, how's it going?
It's going good. Glad to have you guys. We were just about to talk about, and maybe your entrance could be for you, about the support you are getting from the community in general and specifically from the rugby union.
Well, I think it's pretty evident when, a legend like Dai Morgan stays up close to midnight. And Eric, boys, absolutely great to see you on this chat. And when Charlie organized this thing last minute, it's always great to see the Tampa Crew boys. You guys have been, probably one of our toughest opponents throughout the years, and we certainly learned a lot from you guys and your persistence. So getting your perspective on your experience 10 years ago, it's certainly one that we want to emulate, and it's what we hope other teams throughout Florida rugby follow in that step. So boys, honestly, you are a prime example of that, and so much for being here. But alongside with that, I mean, we have gotten such a great positive reaction from all over the state. Women's teams, and I know Fort Miami, which we battle as our sister team, but they came out strong and they're supporting us. The Key Rats, where our captain is from, has shown a lot of support. Their coaching staff, their parents, and players as well. Everybody is very excited. So very lucky to have a very good community amongst the clubs, and everybody has reacted so positively. So I think it's important to say that we are a product of Florida rugby. Our opponents and our family surrounding is what makes us strong. So when we are coming out there wearing Trident jerseys, we're actually wearing Florida jerseys. And we have the Florida Panthers and the Heat also going for a national championship. So it's 3 from Florida and from Florida together. So we are very proud to be representing Florida. We're very proud of the rugby that we learned through our opposition. I mean, it's not opposition; it's brothers, and we're incredibly happy.
That's great. I was just saying before you came in that you guys were always our toughest opponent, and we appreciated that. I don't know if you were there in the Battle of Miami in 2010 or 11, whenever it was, and I think there were like 15 fights going on across the field there, you know, and you know, I can remember staying and having some of the carne asada and saying to somebody, you know, hey man, we got to be friends with these guys. They make the best carne asada here in Florida, you know. So
no, we had to give this an ice pack because he was so tired of bringing up yellow cards at the end of that match. So you know, he had a lot of action in that game, and honestly, it's a very, very memorable one. And like I said, I mean, you guys are a class act. We got to face you this season, and we really look forward to playing you guys some more.
Well, I think it is worth noting that even though we've had substantial battles on field, the Tridents did contribute financially to both 2010 and 2011 for Crew going to Nationals. And I actually just talked to the Crew president right before I got on, and Crew has now put money into the Tridents GoFundMe. That's at the bottom of the screen, and so that respect is there for sure, and it's nice to see it continue.
Can you do FRU because they haven't come in with any money yet?
Yeah, the FRU, we got no funding from the FRU back then either. We also reached out to South Florida Rugby and looking for funding, and we were unable to secure funding there either. Luckily, our sponsor at the time kicked in $2,000 extra for the club, but we got no local funding from either Florida Rugby or USA South, unfortunately, on either run.
Well, what do you guys think the union should do? Because this is my take. I don't think. Sorry. I don't think they can come up with, you know, $10,000 to pay for half of your expenses, but definitely should come up with something for teams who are or qualifying representing Florida. You know, $500, $1,000, that helps a lot. But apparently it's zero, and that is something that should be. It should be, you know, within the sort of bylaws or regulations, or you guys have to discuss at the AGM and support every team with something, you know.
And Charlie, certainly, I mean, I always wonder how the selection process for some of these matches go, because it's in very remote locations where there's not a major airport, there's not access to things, and you know, I think we just recently had the last guy booked flight $800 to go to St. Missouri, which is absolutely absurd. Oh, hey, cheers, Dai. And I'm not going to let you drink alone. You know, that would be rude. But certainly, the expenses associated with these campaigns are quite a bit. We were very lucky to have the Super Regionals hosted in Orlando, which made us financially capable of doing this. But just last year, I know the Twins were one of the proponents in raising the fee for D2 men's, the contribution to the union. So they are very healthy financially. So, you know, the purpose of that was in order to support campaigns like these, in order to promote the expansion and the professionalism of rugby. So,
I know Fetty's got to go.
Sorry,
Excuse me. I just want to wish you all the best. And like we said earlier, you know, hey, this is just the start now, right? Now you got to finish the job, right?
We're almost there. We're almost there. Thank you so much, Dai and Eric, for the support and for chatting to you guys here. Jose and Ollie, I leave you guys with it. And Charlie, thank you as always. We'll see you in St. Louis.
And enjoy it. Enjoy it.
Good luck.
I'll try my best. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Fede.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you, Fede.
Bye.
Dai,
Right,
Eric, while we're on, I just wanted to ask you guys a question really about the from your experience when you guys had that amazing run, the impact and the cost in a way, just outside of the financial cost, but on the players. Did you have injuries? Did you have work commitments? Did you have, what sort of talk us through some of the pressures that you guys had as players and coaches to keep that group together and keep them right the way through to the end?
Eric, talk.
Yeah. So, yeah, we as you were talking about earlier, we were all in as a club, so we had definite impact to our personal lives. Folks walked away from jobs who wouldn't give them the time off. Folks took out loans and things like that to fund the second time around. I'm not gonna say that folks ended in divorce, but it's possible. I mean, we were very committed to both seasons, and it's tough, right? Because you're almost playing year round at this point, because you start training in October, November, and you're playing all the way through June, and then so you get very little time off, especially on these back-to-back runs. And it's super taxing on friends and family.
I'll be even more blunt to you, Ollie. It basically cost us our club.
Yeah.
Because we won it twice. We lost one game the first season and one game the second season. That's all we lost, right? 2 games in 2 years. And so the union made us go up to D1. And at that time, you live in Florida. There's not a lot of good jobs there. Most of my players had service jobs. We had waiters. We had, guys who worked in marinas. We had, they're not making a lot of money, right? And I said, okay, so we're going to go up to Division 1 now. So, all right, let's go. We're at that level. We can play that. And NOLA came up with us. We're good friends with NOLA. So we talked to them and they came up with us. And we said, okay, well, we can bus over there. And like we did, we played NOLA and we said, we'll play you halfway and things like this when we were in D2, right? And then all of a sudden now it's like we got to go to Charlotte, Atlanta twice. Boca dropped out. So we didn't have anybody in Florida. NOLA was the closest game. And there was somebody else I can't remember. Can't remember. Anyway, it was middle of nowhere. And I said to the union, I said, this is going to cost us $250,000 if we're going to do this properly. And he said, well, you guys are going up. That's all about it. And they forced us to go up. As a coach, we went from 60 players coming to training to 17.
Yeah, we pleaded with the union on going up to D1 and asked them. We put together all the travel expenses to Atlanta, to Charlotte, to New Orleans, on top of, hey, this is what we just spent in the last 2 years to go to Colorado twice, and we basically bankrupt the club and most of the players.
Yeah, They destroyed us. And one man, I'm not going to say his name, but one man destroyed us.
Oh, well, you have to look it up then.
Well, the good thing is that
I remember joining the Tridents in 2013, and not long after you guys had those successes, and and I remember playing Tampa away. This is maybe 2014 or 2015, and seeing on the side of the pitch, you guys had sort of this like promotional kind of van or truck that you would drive around. And I remember just seeing that, national champions on there, and I was new to Florida rugby. So immediately I thought, that's quite impactful, that statement. And I didn't know too much about the history, but, it was so striking and it kind of stuck with me. It's not until we're at this stage right now that you can really appreciate the cost, the personal cost, the financial cost, and like you say, the cost on the club as a whole. And I think it's a really nice, it's a nice insight to have you guys here to explain that, because I think that really does go unheard of throughout the rest of Florida. People look at the results and they say, okay, Tridents are just, carrying on through and fantastic, but maybe there's a level of ambivalence there. But, I think those two testimonies are really impactful as to sort of the cost that goes on behind the scenes here.
I think the one thing we haven't talked about yet is like what helped us win in the same situation that you all are in. I will say that the preparation before our trips was absolutely stellar. So all the players, all of the distractions were eliminated. You knew exactly how you were getting transported from the hotel or from the airport to your hotel. You knew exactly where dinner was, what you were supposed to wear, exactly how you were getting to the field, exactly what time you were leaving, and so on. And so it was very regimented. It was all published. It was all scheduled, and that took a lot of the how's my wife or girlfriend going to get there, and what do I need to wear, like, and all these things that distract you. All those things were eliminated, and so I do think that preparation and like the club's e-board and the old boys and everybody helping out was critical, like a critical element to our winning. Not to steer the conversation away from the aftermath, but I just wanted to point us back to you all winning.
Fantastic. No, I think that's one of our real strengths this year, which is basically, someone like this guy here. The amount of work that goes on behind the scenes there just to prep the guys up, I think, has been phenomenal this year. I think it's really testament to Jose and the management around the club. One of the things that we say to the guys is, do the simple stuff well, and then you'll find that it gives you the mental capacity to do the really impactful stuff that you need to do. And I think that's a great example of, you take care of the small stuff and get the players at ease. And then it just gives them the mental capacity to achieve the level you want them to achieve on. But like I said, it's this guy's done a lot of work to really set the boys up there.
Yeah, I think the other biggest hurdle is playing back to back like that. So we were directly into ice baths on Saturday. Had that all pre-planned and everything before the Sunday game. So assuming y'all beat, is it Idaho? Idaho, right?
Yeah.
Boise, and then it's the winner of Denver and Boston, I think. Yeah. So assuming you win on Saturday, that Sunday game, you just soar because the level of physicality in these games is intense. So we like massive preparation in that way too. Of all right, all the boys are getting ice baths directly after the game. We're gonna allot for this much rest and so on. I don't know, Dai, if you want to elaborate on that.
Yeah, from a coach's point of view, Ollie, what we did was we went over and we did a pre-meeting at the fields, and we went over there on the Friday, and they had no tap, for example, no spigot to get us water at that time. And I made a fuss, and I said, we're in the national championship here, and you haven't even got a tap to put a hose on for us, So we managed to get someone to almost break down a garden door and get us in. So we had everything done. We went to Walmart. We bought hoses because it was cheaper to buy it than to fly them, pay baggage, right? We bought hoses. We bought kiddie paddling pools, and we put them up. We went to Walmart and we got, I don't know how many pounds of ice. It must have been a ton of ice, literally a minivan full of ice. And we had it all ready. I was so blessed, Jose's with you. I had Eric. He was a player and a president, and he was a big job as well. But we had an e-board of, I don't know, 8 or 10 people, and they were fantastic. We would delegate the work. They would just put their hands up, take care of it. Honestly, Ollie, I didn't do anything except, coach and glad hand around the bar with the sponsors. That was it. It was so easy for me for 2 years. But and I've always thought that was a weakness. I'm being honest, because transparency and honesty is what it's all about, right? I think that was the biggest weakness with the Tridents in prior years. You never had the off the field. Well, to me, it never seemed you had the off the field organization to go to the next level. And now it looks like you've got it together. Everybody, I troll you guys and I see what's going on, and everyone tells me, oh no, the club has changed or whatever they want to call it, right? And now they're mainstream and they're going well, and they have organization, good coaches, and it's like anything, if you can create that environment and culture where everyone is happy and everyone buys into it, the other stuff that goes on around it just takes care of itself, and that's my only advice. We had a lot of military guys and ex-military guys on our club, and so I can remember going to the game. We had a Suburban, and we had what do you call it? I don't know what I was going to say, what's Carol's job? Pookie's job. I said Pookie.
I'm not at liberty to say. He's a special investigator for U.S. Customs.
Oh, okay. Anyway, I don't know where he got. They were all mic'd up, right? And so here we are in black Suburbans going to the game, and we did a dry run literally a dry run on the Friday, timing everything. They had stopwatches, clipboards. These are all kind of guys that get dropped behind enemy lines in Afghanistan. And they're going like BD to Z Victor 1. I'm here at checkpoint Charlie, and it looks like they've got cones going up. And just a second, he'd flash a badge to somebody and say, "What's this? Oh, are we going to block this road tomorrow?" Oh, that's good to know, because the organizers didn't tell us that, right?
Yeah.
So all of the little things, because Coach, you've got to have these boys at the field with the timing right. Otherwise, if you're racing, getting changed on the sidelines, all that BS, that just takes everything away. And so organization, like Eric said, is massive.
Yeah, the other thing was the old boys were a really big help. Like, obviously, a lot of pride in the club when you play on the national level, and the old boys wanted to be a part of the experience, even if they weren't on the field. And so we tapped a bunch of them. Like, hey, if you're planning on coming, could you help us with this or with that? Absolutely, no problem. Would love to. Just be a part of it. And so the old boys actually did most of the stuff that Dai's talking about, going to Walmart, transportation, and all that stuff.
They were wonderful, absolutely wonderful.
I would like to quickly mention one thing of this Tridents team, which is they have, and I don't think we see this too much, they have a bunch of players who have started in the youth, like 10-year-olds, 12-year-olds, and they've gone playing all these years, and now they are playing for the for the men's team. That we don't see that much, players that have been learned playing rugby here, and now they are playing for the men's, which is, I think, really a great thing, and that is why we should really focus on youth and develop it, much more than what we are doing right now. Like, everybody should have a youth team. Even the Trident should have one. They have adopted the Key Biscayne Rats, but that's a little bit cheating, okay?
I think the critical part of that is, yes, those formative years when the kids are kids, absolutely, that anchors them into the game. But I also wouldn't rule out the progress that the colleges have made, because those sorts of programs connect the dots. Because yes, we've got some great youth programs in Florida with Key Biscayne, with Okapi, and with Boca. Great programs with all these kids. But unless you link them into that critical bridge into men's rugby, you find a lot of those kids might drop out or not reach the potential that they need to reach. And I think that's where we've made big strides in the US, certainly over the last decades, is you get some great pathways to expose these guys to high-level coaching and high-level rugby. We've been really grateful to have a couple of guys come back and still play with us from great programs like Life, Lindenwood, for example. So I think we're taking great steps in that respect.
Yeah, and honestly, it's given some kids a chance. So I was coaching the U19s a while back, and we sent some kids off to university that would not have gone to university if they hadn't been able to secure scholarships from Lindenwood and others to go play rugby. And so it's given some inner city kids a chance that weren't going to make it with football and really didn't have another pathway. But then this rugby pathway presented itself, and all of a sudden there was a new lease on life, and they're at university, and they're doing well, and so on. And so I agree with everything we're saying. We don't celebrate that enough, nor do we invest in it enough. And that's the heart of the sport.
Sure.
We're all old men. We're not going any further than we are right now. Probably, I'm not going to the Cardiff Blues anytime soon. But if you can help these young folks, get an education and so on through rugby, that's tremendous. That's what we should be focused on.
No, and absolutely. There's I know down in South Florida 2 new rugby programs. One obviously St. Thomas University is doing a great job. I mean, they just recently won a state champion. I know that there's another school that's starting a program. I don't know the name of the school, but it's very encouraging that they are investing in rugby, investing in education and scholarship for those players, and that certainly creates a better scenario. And I think the national championship Facebook page put the regions that are producing the champion level rugby programs are. A lot of them are coming from Texas and places. So, it is obviously we're very honored to be representing Florida. We had an opportunity to have D3 team coming up with Palm Beach. We had women's as well, did a good job, but didn't quite make it to the nationals. So, I think we're right there, us and promoting like that to the youth programs, then graduating to college and men's club. I think we're right there. Going to be the next place where rugby from around the world are going to come with, and also be producing some from onwards.
Yeah, and not to be a provocateur, but if you bring it back to our discussion around funding, where is the value proposition, let's say, of the Panthers versus funding a club to go to the national level, or funding, U19 and youth rugby? I mean, does the state rugby get exposure through the Panthers as much as it does through teams going to the national level playoffs, or as much bang for the buck through youth? And I don't know the last time that Florida rugby really evaluated, like, what level of exposure are we getting from the money where we are putting our money versus these other things that we're not funding, and do we need to adjust our ways of working, which have been the same for 10 years?
Yeah, I completely agree with you, Eric. I think they need to really evaluate what is that goal. What does success look like? Is success relative to the funding? Having a Florida team at the nationals, is that success having a Florida team lift that trophy, or is success sort of increasing the number of youth players coming through? Because certainly we feel, to cut to the chase, we feel, or we are tempted to feel slightly alone where we are right now, which suggests that maybe the goal for the funding isn't to put one team through to the nationals. It's to deploy the money elsewhere, which is fine. But I think it's a good question to ask for sure.
Yeah.
Dai, what do you think of having the Miami Sharks next season here? How is that gonna?
Oh, I think it's absolutely fantastic. Growing up in Wales, obviously, my local club was the little village that I lived in. But then, we all went to support either Llanelli or Swansea. I'm from West Wales, depending on which side of the Lough River you were. And it's very tribal down there. But we all had our local heroes. We had our Welsh heroes back at the time, these guys behind me here. And then that gave you every schoolboy, when he was going to school or playing in the schoolyard or playing on the beach, whatever, he would be Phil Bennett, or he would be Barry John, or he would be Arthur Lewis, or he would be so-and-so, JPR Williams, We lack that in America. Now, I'm a student of the game. I couldn't tell you more than 4 names of our current U.S. team. If you ask me who was on our U.S. team right now, I saw what we put out in the qualifiers, which was absolutely, wow, I'm not even going to get into it, right? I mean, a good club team would beat that performance against, what was it, Chile or
Chile.
Right?
Yeah. Dad, don't sugarcoat it. Just tell us how you feel.
Well, I'm over here in France right now, right? And the club that I coach in right now, we're in Federal 1. So we are in the top 14, Pro D2, and then you have National 1, National 2, Federal 1. We just lost on Sunday in the semi-final of Federal 1. And I would put that team up against pretty much any MLR team I see on the telly, except for maybe San Diego. But most of these others, quite frankly, the gulf between what we're seeing in the States domestically and what goes on in England, Ollie, with the Premiership, National 1, the champ, any of those teams would put 30, 40 points on the MLR. Now, I know I'm going to get some flack about this, but I'm just telling you the truth. It is. And when I'm here and I'll go and watch Stade Toulouse train, I'll go watch their under-22s, the Espoirs, and I'm going, first of all, they're huge. And then secondly, everybody can catch and pass, right? And there's no one saying, put your hands out, catch with your fingers, or play the piano or whatever, because they've been doing, I'm coaching little kids. I'm doing, 8s, 10s, 12s right now in a little rural academy in the middle of nowhere, and it's fantastic, but the gulf, I'm getting sidetracked here. The gulf between where we are with the MLR and the rest of the world is massive right now. It's massive, and I don't want to get into some of the political stuff, but there seems to be an awful lot of emphasis on selection for the pathways right now, right? On the MLR boys.
Mm-hmm.
And some of these MLR boys wouldn't even get into a pub team in London, let alone a professional team. I'm going to get some stick, I know that, but it's the truth. It's like watching paint dry. Most of these games are like, yeah, there are some good stuff, but there's no Americans. So what is it coming back to it again? I mean, Jose, you probably know this because the team coming in is going to be run by a bunch of Argentinian investors, right? That's what I've heard. The guy that owns Amazon or whatever it is down south. One of my best friends is an Argentinian, and he's telling me all about it. And so, okay, so they're going to come in now. Is this going to be a development team for Argentina? Because right now the money, the currency is so poor in Buenos Aires right now, right? So they can get good players coming up and play in that team for not a lot of money US, because it will translate to a lot of money going back down to Argentina. And that's the sort of story I'm hearing from my Argentinian friends. It's going to be a development team, maybe Pumanitas 3 or something like that.
I don't know about that. Let's get back to the Tridents.
Dai, I'll call you and give you some details.
It's a fair question, right? It's a fair question.
Well, and certainly real quick, I mean, they still have a 10 player cap that they need to abide by. So, the large majority of their players are going to have to come domestic. And obviously it's 23 players, rather 2 full squads that they're going to have to field. So it's going to be interesting with the cost of living in South Florida, how they're actually able to accomplish that pay gap.
I honestly don't know. I've been gone 4 years now, and that's another story, Charlie. I don't know how people can afford to live in America right now. So it's.
Oh, that is another story for sure. Yeah. So Jose, bring us current to what are the ways people can help you guys out in terms of supporting you financially? I'm running the GoFundMe. You guys have a raffle, right? That is going to be done tomorrow, correct?
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I actually want to say thank you to all of us and all the supporters throughout the world have donated, wonderful things about rugby is that no matter where you go, the colonized countries you have to stay in. We have great friends all throughout. So we have set up a GoFundMe page that you're sharing. And that money goes towards the expenses. We want to minimize, like that. Most of our players are in the service industry or have jobs that don't pay much. So the goal is to minimize not only their direct costs, but also interruption to the work schedule, because we have been in this situation before where, we can't afford to go to the next level. So it is with the support of people. With the GoFundMe page, we also have a 50-50 raffle that for $20 you have to win $5,000. So we have limited tickets to that. We have some other prizes as well, like that lovely 50th anniversary jersey that you're wearing. We're gonna have to take it off your back because we're gonna be raffling that baby. But yeah, so we're posting links on our Instagram and Facebook, and thank you for sharing that. So we have the raffle that go on live tomorrow at 9:30 for $5,000. And one of the wonderful things about the rugby community is historically guys go out and support. And just last year we had a similar 50-50 raffle, and we're talking about what we're going to do. $5,000 and when it's like when you got your tax check in the mail. We all had plans and everything, and it ended up to one of our players who had just had a baby a week before the raffle, and his emergency room deductible was exactly $5,000. And it's like the rugby gods were listening, and it went to the guy that needed it the most, and we're very happy about that. So that's how rugby is, and it's anything, and we're very blessed. We're very blessed with the support.
That's so great to hear, Jose. Awesome.
Okay, guys, I don't know if you have any questions. Anybody wants to ask anybody a question? Go ahead.
Yeah, a quick one for Ollie as a coach here. How many boys do you have in your squad right now?
Oh, well, it depends on how many are sipped and how many are registered versus how many we're getting out there. Jose will be able to tell you how many we've got registered. Start of the season looked very healthy, upwards of towards 60 players. And realistically, you're seeing players towards the latter end of the season. We were training with about 30 to 35 guys, which is still some really good numbers. I think a lot of that is to do with the spirit of the club. You've got quite a challenging schedule where you don't necessarily have as many B team fixtures as most of us would like. I think that keeps it very healthy if we can get a bit more of an active B side. But like I said, it's the spirit of the club where you get guys who maybe know that they're not going to start in these positions, and they realize how valuable they are to the club as a whole, and they're still turning up to training. And I think that's emblematic of that kind of spirit that we were talking about at the beginning of the call.
Yeah, Eric, can you talk to that?
Sorry, quick. And one of the important things I think to your comment, we've had to separate players and then eligible players, because I'm pretty sure it's been around for a long time. The 5 foreign player eligibility. Tampa has grown to be very much an international city. Miami obviously is, and when we have a not single player that is from original Miami-Dade, born and raised, when you go to the stage, it's very difficult. You have guys that have bought houses, have kids here, and are not eligible under USA Rugby standards to count as a national. So that makes selection, that makes the ability to field the best team so much.
Yeah, when I was in Southern California for the longest time, and we had the same issue there, because it's very global there. Southern California in particular. And every Division I team out there, we had 20 foreigners on them, right? But you could only put that 5 on, and then we went to the photo ID cards because of some issues with some of the teams cheating, and it became very difficult, But I had Eric posted something just before Charlie called us to be on the show. Eric posted something, a photograph or a comment about our 2010 team, about how dominant that pack was at that period, right? Those big boys we had, with some big fellas, right? And one of the players was a B team player, a good player who would have been starting on pretty much every other team in Florida. Did you see what Zach wrote yesterday, Eric? I don't know if you saw what he wrote. He said, I was looking for it, but I couldn't find it. I never trained so hard, never played so few minutes for the first team, but never had so much fun.
Nice.
And that was what it was all about.
Yeah.
We had 2 South African brothers who were 2 years apart going after the same jersey for the first team.
Yeah, he said never trained harder, practiced more, played less, and had more fun than those couple of years.
And that summed up our environment, Ollie.
Yeah.
And one of the brothers, when we used to, they would say sometimes that the hardest games that we had was against our B team in training, right? And they would just beat the what out of each other. And it was very, I'm a great believer in you train like you play and you play like you train. So it was,
100%.
Well,
100%.
the
Yeah.
finishers were so important. I mean, when the starters would come off the field, the level of the play would not go down; it would go up. And many of the finishers were unsung heroes of a lot of those really close wins and scraping it out at the end in the waning seconds of a game. And those folks, we celebrated those folks. Starting was an honor, obviously, but those finishers were the heroes more often than not.
Yeah.
And I think that takes a lot of work to actually create that culture, and that's definitely testament to you guys off the field in franchising those kind of players and making them realize how valuable they are. That's one thing that we've absolutely tried to do this year. And like you say, if you've got enough depth to get those finishers coming off the bench and really making a difference, we're hoping to be in a similar position coming this weekend. We've got a very nice deep squad of some real quality and real committed players. So, we like to think we're in that same spot. It's a very special place to be, and like I said, a lot of it's down to the culture.
Right. I made a note when Charlie called me today in case I forget, because you remember I digress Morgan, right? That's my name. So, and I will say this: the first time we got there, I was fine, totally in control. Well, Ollie's gone now. He's shined me, but for you, Jose, okay, as a coach. I was totally in control because I was extremely confident we were going to win, and nauseatingly optimistic that we were going to win, and we did. It was beautiful. The second time around, I was looking around. We had a tough game on the Saturday, very tough game. I didn't like some of the calls we got, and I thought, oh, they're coming after us here right now because they didn't like our physicality and some of the things. And then, so this is for you, Ollie. My biggest advice I can give to a colleague, a coach, okay, is that try to, obviously this is, I don't know you, as far as that goes, but I'm pretty quiet. I don't shout from the sideline and get upset. And the first year didn't say a word. And when we won, I didn't even cheer or shout. I was like, okay, we've won. I was, looked at my co-coach and said, okay, that's it. Good job. And off we went. The second year, I wasn't as confident for various reasons. And a couple of calls, Florida referee, 3 yellow cards, discipline. And I started to get a little bit antsy, which I try not to be. But that went on to the players then. Because all of a sudden now I'm interjecting, when they were close enough for me to get it, because you got to stay in the box, right? You can't move out of the box. In Glendale, you're actually off the field, and so that was something. If I could take it back again, that I would do that. I would work on my self-control because I was getting pretty annoyed at some players, who weren't sticking to the game plan, trying to showboat, trying 2-on-1 and. They were being that guy instead of giving the pass and things like that. Tackling high, just being warned. There's another tackle, high tackle, yellow card. Lazy runner. Their scrum half threw it straight into his legs. Hey, good play, right? Referee didn't pick up on it. He says, okay, yellow card. And instead of just taking that and saying, don't worry, boys, stick to the plan now. Let's play it tight for a while. Let's not get too crazy. I was getting pretty head up and giving the touch judge some stick and what have you. And once the coach is out of control and the players are out of control, as And I was a young coach then. I didn't know any better. Although you look a little bit younger than I was. I was 52.
They're pretty good behaved, these guys, I can say.
I could be misremembering that, but I don't recall you being as cool as a cucumber or never raising your voice ever. So I have to go back and watch the footage again. It's been a long time.
Okay.
Guys, we're gonna end the broadcast right now. Hang around, don't go anywhere for a second. So I just want to thank again Dai for his late appearance from France, and Eric from Colorado. Tridents, always a pleasure supporting you guys. Of course, I have a little investment here because my son is playing, full disclosure. So of course I'm a Tridents, at least for this year, if this guy stays, And it's been a pleasure to watch you progress throughout the season, and I'm sure we're gonna play that final. Okay, as I said in my posting, I have a link for people to watch the game. I did a friendly link, which is very easy to remember. rugbyfl.com/Tridents. You can watch the game live on Saturday. That's going to be 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And also on Sunday, I think it's 1 p.m., right? Or 2, I can't remember that one. But let's win this one first, which we're going to do for sure. And if you guys want to say any final words, and stick around once we go offline, okay?
Yeah, sure. Just want to say, Dai, Eric, it's been invaluable having you guys on this call. Really appreciate your time and your insight, having been there and done that. It's a great idea, Charlie, to get these guys together. We really appreciate it, and we appreciate the support and the camaraderie going into this. And we're in a good place, and fingers crossed we can do Florida proud. That's what we're all about.
And we're all rooting for you, so best of luck, and we'll be watching.
100%. Just finish the job now.
Thank you very much, guys, and hang around for a second. For everybody else, we'll see you probably. I'll probably be doing some live stuff from St. Charles, because I have to say, if this is okay, Jose, that I have been invited by the Tridents. They've taken me as a guest, which I really appreciate, and I'm very moved because of that. I was still planning to go, but this is like way much better to be on their roster. So you'll probably see me doing some lives on the field, and next week, most likely, we'll be showing that cup here on a podcast. Okay.
Awesome.
So thank you very much, and we'll be in touch.
Charlie, thank you for having us. Appreciate you.
My pleasure. Don't go away.